Jordan Klepper. He's a contributor for The Daily Show, and I'm so excited to welcome him back to the show. So I have been wondering what the thought bubble was going on in your head when you were watching that Katie Britt response. There's a lot to unpack there, but what did you make of it?
Well, it was definitely my least favorite Tennessee Williams play, but I was glad to see it resurfacing again. I think, frankly, performative outrage is a skill, and it's something that you saw her take her first swing at, which is always an exciting time for a performer. As a failed actor myself, I know what it's like to be handed a shaky script and not have the skills to really communicate with my audience, and I felt a certain...
So that's what we're getting into. A really, really bad audition is what this was. It was terrible. Okay, so we're going to watch this clip. She's talking about the border thing, and then she brings up a woman who was a rape victim, who was actually sex trafficked. This is just crazy shit, and she is manic back and forth, and it's even crazier after we watch it. So just bear with this, because it's painful for a second here.
We know that President Biden didn't just create this border crisis. He invited it with 94 executive actions in his first 100 days. When I took office, I took a different approach. I traveled to the Del Rio sector of Texas. That's where I spoke to a woman who shared her story with me. She had been sex trafficked by the cartels starting at the age of 12. She told me not just that she was raped every day, but how many times a day she was raped. We wouldn't be okay with this happening in a third world country. This is the United States of America, and it is past time, in my opinion, that we start acting like it.
So she's basically blaming this woman's rape thing and whatnot on Biden. She's got crazy eyes, man. It's just horrible, horrible, horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible.
I can't listen, that was so out there. I'm like, what is she talking about? Like, what point is she even making? Other than this woman's rape is somehow Biden's fault? Like, what are we talking about here?
You ever see Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction? She's got the crazy eyes, man. That's the crazy eyes. You gotta, guys, I don't care how hot she is, run. You see the crazy eyes. Her eyes don't match the rest of her face. Yeah, it was weird. Not only was it weird, she's blaming Biden and his border policy for what happened to this woman, except for the whole story was pretty much bullshit. It's a true story. She just omitted a lot of really, really, really important facts that don't jive with what she's saying. And we're going to get into this, but where did I have it? Did I have it here? Let's see if I can find it. Oh, here it is. 1 second. So this is the reporter that broke it, and my God, it's hilarious. So it's Anderson Cooper on CNN who's going to introduce him, but this is crazy, guys. Watch this.
Survive great.
Immediately had questions. Who was this woman? How did she meet her? How did she get her to tell her this story? What country did it happen in? Did it happen before Joe Biden was president?
So, as Mr. Katz quickly discovered, the woman's name is Carla Jacinto. She's an advocate for tracking victims and a longtime acquaintance of CNN's Rafael Romo, who spoke exclusively with her over the weekend.
Check this out.
At one point when I met you years and years ago, you told me that you felt like at the beginning, Mexican politicians had taken advantage of you by using your story for political purposes. Do you feel like that happened once again here in the United States?
Yes. In fact, I hardly ever cooperate with politicians because it seems to me that they only want an image. They only want a photo and that to me is not fair.
Carla Jacinto also told me that Senator Britt got many of the facts of her story wrong. Number one, she was not trafficked by Mexican drug cartels, but by a pimp that operated as part of a family that entrapped vulnerable girls in order to force them into prostitution. Two, she also said she was never trafficked in the United States, as Senator Britt appeared to suggest. Three, she was kept in captivity from 2004 to 2008 when President George W. Bush, a Republican, was in office as opposed to the current administration, as the senator implied. And finally, four, she met the senator at an event at the border with other government officials and anti-human trafficking activists instead of one-on-one.
So, never happened. Didn't happen.
So,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
so this whole story, which didn't really connect to much of anything anyway, like it already, even with her lies, didn't make much damn sense.
No.
Now makes literally no damn sense because she literally made up the only facts that even sort of loosely, almost, but not quite connected it.
Yeah, well, she implied a lot of it. But the whole thing is like, one, it happened during Bush's administration back in 2004, so almost 20 years ago, right? Two, it never happened in the U.S. It happened in Mexico. This woman lives in Mexico City. She's not a U.S. citizen. She's just an advocate for anti-trafficking. And this woman tried to use it as a political cudgel to say that Biden's weak on the border. I mean, she was just fucking crazy the whole time.
And she wasn't even trafficked in the U.S.
No.
Nor was it on Biden's term, so it literally has no connection to the U.S. anyway.
No, not at all. So, yep, just crazy. That whole speech was crazy. I did another video on it where I looked at it a little bit, but she was totally manic, and it was just bizarre. So it shows you the difference of what you're getting. Plus, everybody was bitching about, why is she in a kitchen? Because it's kind of sexist to put her in a kitchen. Any other politician you'd put behind, like, a podium. Right?
Or like if you're going for something casual looking but classy, like something looks like a library sort of office-y kind of thing, you know, like with the bookcase behind you.
Yeah, something professional at least, right? Yeah, no, and it just shows you what it's how the Republicans are. I mean, they're like, okay, we're losing women voters, because that's where they're getting really crushed right now, is with the women vote, with the female vote. And they're like, okay, so we got to get some of the women voters back, so we're going to put a woman up, and we're going to put one of our women, but she has to be, we want her to be aggressive when she's attacking Biden, but when she's not attacking Biden, go ahead.
So wait a minute. So we need to get the women voters back because we pissed all of them off because they can't get abortions and they can't do IVF and get, so they can't get pregnant or abortions unless they do it the way we want them to do it.
Right.
So they're all pissed off. So now we're going to put a woman on and we're going to talk about rape by drug cartel to try to get women back onto our side.
Yeah, and we're going to put her
that's effective.
We're going to put her in a kitchen, because that's where women belong. And we're also gonna do one of the most staunchest anti-abortion Republicans that we have. I mean, it made no fucking sense. And it shows when Biden says, well, I may be old, but I have experience. It's like, well, that shows the difference right there. She has no experience, and it was clear. And I'm not knocking her. That's a thankless task that's impossible. I mean, doing the State of the Union response, I've never seen anybody nail it. It's always a train wreck. Yeah, but I think she just got kind of set up over that whole thing. I mean, not much to say about it other than that. Anyway, well, meanwhile, while moving on.
At least if they'd have put up Marjorie Taylor Greene to do the response, we could have had a little more fuel.
That would have been so great, wouldn't it?
You know how many videos we would have gotten out of that? I'm so sorry. I just had sort of a happy moment, and this is the only time that I think I've ever said that the idea of Marjorie Taylor Greene gave me a happy moment. So let's just put that right there.
It would be Jewish space lasers and terrorists at the border and all kinds of crazy shit. Anti-Semitic shit. Oh, man. Well...